Happy Monday, everybody. Chicago Bears Now is sponsored by Roan. Shout out to Roan for sponsoring today's show. The best clothing out there. I can promise you that. Upgrade your closet today at roan.com/chatsports. Code chatsports going to get you 20% off plus free shipping. I'm Harrison Graham. Here's what we got cooking up here on Chicago Bears Now. Yannick Ngakoue, is he set to return for a second season with the Bears? We'll catch you up on the latest buzz there. Khalil Herbert, is he on the trade block? Could he get dealt before week one? And then Tyson Bagent, kind of a forgotten man on this team. He hopped on NBC Sports Chicago, talked about Caleb Williams. I thought that was pretty interesting. So we'll get to all that coming up as we go. But first, we got a May subscriber battle. Off to a fast start. Shout out to the real ones here on Chicago Bears Now. We're taking on the Cowboys Report and Tom Downey this month. We're doubling them up. Do not rest on your laurels. Keep it humming. If you want daily free Bears content, hit the subscribe button. And hey, if you like a little competition, want to take down those fraud Dallas Cowboys, well, go ahead and subscribe today. All right, let's talk Ngakoue here. Is he going to re-sign with this team? We've talked about it a little bit. I definitely think it's a possibility here. Bill Zimmerman, who's got a pretty good feel for these things a decent amount of the time, WC Gridiron did his early 53-man roster projection, and he had Ngakoue on it. And here's what he had to say about that inclusion. He said, I think the Bears signed an additional veteran here, talking about the defensive end position, and I think Ngakoue makes too much sense. He didn't have a great 2023 season in Chicago, but he knows Matt Eberflus' system, and it's not like there are veterans available who were wildly productive in 2023. I think that's pretty well put. And the Bears clearly, obviously, no doubtably need an edge rusher. Like, they just need another one. I like getting back into the draft and getting Austin Booker. Anything he gives you as a rookie, I think, is gravy. I think he's got a lot of developing to do here, but the potential is certainly there. Obviously, you got your stud in Montez Sweat. DeMarcus Walker is an energy, kind of leader, rah-rah guy, but there's limitations there. Obviously, there's limitations with Ngakoue, but I think just throwing him into this rotation makes a decent amount of sense here. Now, again, we've talked about the production. It wasn't great. He did not live up to the hype that was kind of built last offseason. And quite frankly, I was guilty of that. I thought he would be a great fit here, and he was just not that good. Now, I mentioned this the other day, and I'll say it again here. It seemed like, without me compiling the data yet, that Ngakoue played better once Montez Sweat got on board, a.k.a. once the Bears brought in a guy that teams really had to key in on, it gave Ngakoue more opportunities to kind of complete plays. And Jacob Infante did compile the data here, and I think it does show that that was the case. In 5 games, he had 2 sacks, 9 hurries, and 4 defensive stops. At that pace, he would have finished a full season with 7 sacks. Remember, he broke his ankle. It would have to be cheaper than his deal last year, which was $10 million, but I wouldn't hate the Bears bringing him back at all. I agree with all that. I think that's very well said. Number one, like, if you told me right now Yannick Ngakoue would give you 7 sacks, even 6, I'd be pretty thrilled with that, right? Like, if he comes in, gets you 6 sacks, plays 15-plus games, I'd be pretty happy. Now, he's not going to have a great pass rush win rate. He's not going to be great against the run, but if he could play a little better than last year and play closer to what he was doing with Montez Sweat, which Jacob kind of outlined there, I think we'd all be on board, especially if the cost at least is cut in half, right? Like, maybe it's a $3 million base with incentives up to 5 or 6 if he reaches certain threshold, something like that. But he will not get $10 million bucks guaranteed from any team on the market, so I'm not too concerned about that. You look at the guys out there. Calais Campbell, I frankly would still rather have him. I like Emmanuel Ogbah, but Lawson was hurt. Jerry Hughes is older. So, like, other than Calais Campbell, who has played mostly in a 3-4 recently, so maybe the Bears don't view him as a great fit, I mean, you could make an argument that the most sense is Ngakoue, especially if the price is relatively small. So, again, I'm not going to do cartwheels this year, kind of like we did last year. I thought it was going to be a much more impactful signing. But, like, I'll be cool with it. Like, I'll understand it. And, maybe happy is a strong word, but I'd be, like, fairly happy with the move. Like, hey, this is a professional defensive end. You bring him on board, and certainly he can help you. Will the Bears re-sign Yannick Ngakoue? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. Go ahead and let me know. We'll get to Khalil Herbert trade rumors in a second, but first, let's talk about our sponsor today a little bit more. That is Roan. Code ChatSports at roan.com/chatsports. Get you 20% off. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. Their commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and versatile set of products known to man because they have products for every occasion. Pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, polos, blazers. They look great as individual pieces and work seamlessly together. They're going to fit you for any occasion out there. Their signature 4-way stretch fabric, by the way, is so breathable, flexible, gives you that mobility regardless of if you're out and about, bouncing around the town, or if you travel for work, or if you're stuck in the office for long periods of time. You don't want to get stiff and uncomfortable. You see the stretch here. It's absolutely fantastic. Their style is simple and easy. It's unparalleled based on other clothing technology or clothing companies out there, I should say. Their wrinkle release technology, by the way, is awesome, and 100% machine washable. That is my favorite perk of Roan. You're going to save so much money by not having to go to the dry cleaners, throw these in the washing machine, air dry them. You are good to go. Roan.com/chatsports. They have plenty of different clothing options for you. That's RHONE.com/chatsports. Use the code chatsports to get 20% off. All right, let's talk Khalil Herbert trade here. The Twitter rumors have been circulating that teams are interested in trading for Khalil Herbert. TJ on Twitter, a couple of Bears Twitter folks here, hearing that the Bengals have contacted Bears about Khalil Herbert. Sam at polls is him adds interest from 2 teams on Herbert. He added to someone replying that the Bengals are one of those, so who knows. Expect a late round pick or a pick swap in terms of an offer. No clue if there's truth here from these 2 guys. I mean, it's, sometimes Twitter with sources is a real thing. Sometimes it's, it's speculation, just throwing shit out on the wall season. Who knows, right? But I do think there's, if you just use context clues of how the NFL works with certain positions, you could understand Khalil Herbert being available via trade. He's had 3 years here. He's not like a true RB1, so it's not like he's not a player that would be under consideration to get traded if you are Ryan Poles. Entering the last year of his rookie contract, probably not a candidate to get an extension or even be re-signed unless it was for close to the vet minimum after this year. You bring in DeAndre Swift, obviously, and I think more so than that, they drafted Roschon Johnson last year and spoke glowingly of him. Like, they want Roschon to be a part of this football team and a part of the rotation, and he's clearly not going to be the starter with Swift coming in here. Like, do the Bears want him stuck as the RB3, or is he going to leapfrog Khalil Herbert? And if that's the case, Herbert's kind of getting wasted if he's an RB3 because he's proven to be a very good RB2. So I do understand and kind of do believe that if the right trade offer came in, the Bears would certainly consider it, and especially if they're ready for Roschon Johnson to take that primary RB2 role, which I think Ryan Poles and people in that building would like that to be the case, considering the investment they place in him. I could see a deal happening during camp. Guys get hurt all the time. Team needs a number 2 running back. Hey, we'll give you Khalil Herbert for a 6th, something like that. So, again, I like Khalil Herbert. I wouldn't, root for this to happen, but it would not shock me if he got dealt, especially if it was pretty obvious through OTAs and training camp. Like, yeah, Roschon's ready to go. It's year 2. Travis Homer can stay on this team as your RB3. Special teamer. Like, you don't need 4. And Khalil Herbert is not going to be a candidate that is going to get extended. So why not try to get something for him? Would you trade Khalil Herbert? Type T for trade, K for keep. Again, I'm not looking to trade him. If it's just a 7th or something like that, I'd probably rather just keep him. I think 1 year of Herbert is worth more than that. But if it's a 6th or certainly a 5th, you could certainly talk me into it. But these running backs, they don't get much on the trade market. So give us your thoughts, T for trade or K for keep. All right, I wanted to dive into this a little bit. Tyson Bagent hopping on NBC Sports Chicago, talked about a variety of things, what he's doing this offseason, all of that. But he also was asked about Caleb Williams, the new sheriff in town, number 1 pick, all that stuff. And, you could see a guy like Bagent being a little annoyed or feel like I'm the forgotten man here. But I think he's very self-aware. And B, he's just the ultimate team guy. I think we saw that last year. Here's what he had to say when asked about, Caleb coming in here and everything. He said, obviously, he's a superstar athlete. A lot of people know that, which is why it's so exciting. Outside of that, just trying to keep things as normal as possible. He's a normal human being just like everybody else. He's going to go through good things, bad things, and everything in between. So being able to be another set of eyes for him just so I can help him be the greatest resource that he can possibly be for the Bears. I mean, that's just such a good mindset to have. Like, deep down, Bagent's probably competitive as hell and probably thinks he could be a starter in this league. I wouldn't respect him if he didn't. But I think he just understands where he is. Like, he was a UDFA last year that made the team, which was awesome, and he held his own, and they just spent the number 1 pick on a quarterback. Like, he knows he's not going to start, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have value. The Bears are lucky to have this guy. They identified him as an undrafted free agent. He beats out 2 vets last year, P.J. Walker and Nate Peterman, makes this team. He's mature beyond his years. Every time you listen to him talk, that's very clear. He costs essentially nothing, which is why he's very valuable to have as your backup quarterback. It's not going to cost like Jacoby Brissett in New England, $8 million. And he's pretty decent. Like, he's not a top-tier backup yet. Hopefully he gets there. I think he has enough ability to be that guy where he's a top-tier backup. And if, your starter's out a month, you can go 2-2, just like he did last year. The stats, wouldn't suggest that he's like upper echelon backup. Too many turnovers, especially with the interceptions. But just a good enough athlete to move around a bit, makes good decisions. I think a lot of those interceptions were just due to physical limitations. But listen, regardless of how you slice it, what do you always want out of your backup? Go 500 while the starter's out. He did that last year. He went 2-2. So I feel pretty good about him. Now, I've been in the camp of I would be open to signing a vet who's played a lot in this league while still keeping Bagent, by the way, on the 53, like a Ryan Tannehill or something like that. But I understand not doing that because you have Bagent for less than $1 million on your cap hit. Like, it's a pretty powerful resource to have when you're putting together your salary cap table and allocating resources. And the kid's self-aware. He's played some decent ball, and you got him under contract for a few more years. All right, there you have it. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to Chicago Bears Now. Should have mentioned this earlier. Rolly's farewell live show. He's not leaving the company. He's just leaving Bears Now. He's full-time on air now. He's talking about the Dolphins now. Producer Coop saying he got fired. No, he didn't get fired. He's still with us. He's just moving on to other things in the company. He'll still be around, but his final kind of big show that he's producing is this afternoon, 5 Eastern, 4 Central Time. Don't miss it. We'll see you guys then here in a few hours.